Great day, everyone. Hello, hello, hello out there. Welcome to the Coffee with Rhonda show. This is episode 33, and we are going to talk about high impact leaders and creating positive, sustainable, and global change. Let's get started. Welcome to the Coffee with Rhonda show, where you are entering the stress free leadership zone. What's in your cup? All right. So, hello, hello, hello out there. I'm super excited. We have a great conversation in store for you today. So, I'm going to bring our panel up today, and I want you to make sure that you've got your cup. Be prepared to tell us what's in it, and we're going to get started with our conversation. So, here we go. All right, all right, all right, all right. Hello, everyone. So I'm really, really excited about our conversation today. For those of you out there, you're tuning into the Coffee with Rhonda show, where leaders, entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, we really discuss the ups and downs, the goods and the bads of just being a leader in today's world. So I want to thank you for being here and for tuning in. Before I introduce our panel for today, let's just cover a few housekeeping items. If you are watching out there, please tell us your name, where you're watching from, and don't forget to tell us what's in your cup. I do have a big ask right now. If you would share the video, like the video, there is someone else out there who will want to hear this information. Also, a really important part of our show is you are power our conversations. Boy, that was a mouthful. You power our conversations. So we would love it for you to just comment on anything that resonates with you so that we can pull those into the conversation. So now let's get started. My name is Rhonda Y. Williams, and I am your host for the show. I am a recovering stressed out leader. And today I help leaders and entrepreneurs decide that really it's time to stop the madness. I also help organizations embrace and create a stress-free culture. And today I have in my cup, I have my tea, my special tea, and I've got a little bit of ginger and a little bit of turmeric in my cup today also. So that's what's happening with me and what's in my cup. And so now let's get the rest of our folks introduced. I'm going to start today with our guest, and Mark. Hello, hello. I'm so happy to have you here. So if you would, then give us a brief introduction of who you are, and then tell us what's in your cup.
Wow, how cool is it for a Saturday morning to be the Canadian white Jewish guy in this crowd for like the morning? Was that like politically correct to say that? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
But let's challenge. So, hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I'm coming from Hermosa Beach, which is LA, and looking forward to talking about leaders. And I've actually already had a cup of coffee. So in here is sparkling water with some lemon and some kind of lemonade and flavoring and whatnot. So just because if I have one more cup of coffee, whatever hair is left on my head is going to like start standing up. So, wait a little bit. So pour Mirai, c'est un plaisir de vous rencontrer. And Roz, it's great to meet you, and look forward to chatting.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. It is really good to have you here, and I'm excited about our conversation. And don't lose any more hair. So I'm glad you're not having another cup of coffee. We're good with that. So Roz, hello there. How are you? Tell us who you are and what's in your cup.
Hey, I'm Roz Jones, the CEO and owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers, where we provide 4 levels of care to your loved one: sitter, homemaking companion, home health aide, and certified nursing assistant. When you can't do it all, you give us a call. I don't have a coffee cup, but I have my tin cup.
That's
and it has
soup.
Yes. I'm like Mark. I needed a whole lot this morning. And so I have ginger with lemon and some stevia for the sweetener. I didn't have honey. So
Okay.
That's
All
good.
right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ross. All right. So, Ray, hello. Good evening to you. Tell us who you
Hello,
are.
hello. How are you, everybody? My name is Mireille. You should know me by now. So, Mireille Tilekima, based in Perth, in Australia. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO of the Mireille Tilekima Global Leadership Organization, where we help people to become the best version of themselves and push them to really, engineer greatness. And I'm called as well the greatness engineer. So really happy to talk about leadership, because whatever I do as part of the Mirai Leadership Global Leadership Organization is about leadership, and especially global leadership. So really excited to be here today and be involved in this conversation.
Awesome. And do you have a cup? I know it's close to bedtime for
So
you.
I have a cup. So that's lemongrass, cold lemongrass, because it was a bit hot today, and so that's gonna be my last drink before going to bed after the conversation.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Stephanie's out there. Good morning, Stephanie. Thanks for tuning in. This conversation today is going to be really an important one. And so, what I would like to do is I'm going to try for the first time to share a little video, y'all. So, just stick with me for a moment here, because I want to use it to sort of frame our conversation and set the context. So, let me see if I can just make this happen without too much craziness on my end. Our conversation today is about, being a high impact leader. And what does that mean for you as an individual leader? What does that mean for your life? And what does that mean for the world at large? And so let me go and share this, and then we'll get we'll come back to our conversation.
What does it mean to be a global citizen?
To me, being a global citizen is understanding that everything's connected.
Making decisions based on the good of everyone, not just ourselves.
I am a global citizen.
Only one planet.
Loving people is the best way for you to be a global citizen.
If we know that we belong to the same humanity, then we are brothers.
Everywhere is my country. I am a global citizen.
Depending on where a child is born, the access to basic human rights is so different.
We can't limit our concern to national boundaries.
We live in a world that is inescapably connected. What we do in one place affects someone on the other side of the world.
I am interested in developing humanity, no matter where they are found.
Ending extreme poverty.
I think that it is possible. Everything that has a beginning has an end.
We have the energy to do it. We have the skills to do it.
What we do does really make a difference to other people. I am a global citizen.
Each person must have something to contribute to make the world a better place.
That world has a lack of extreme poverty. That world protects and sustains the environment. That world is about equality. That world is about access. That world is about justice. That world is about freedom. That world is about health.
We should have a world by now where every child is born with the same rights to life.
That is the world we're fighting for. Because the world we want and the world we're envisioning is the world we're going to make, and it's going to be beautiful.
So I wanted to use that to sort of frame our conversation today, because, first of all, I want to thank Mark for sort of really being here, because this has triggered a whole series of thoughts that I have had. And as I think about being a global citizen, I realized that I have never really thought about it too deeply. Obviously, I'm a member of the globe, right? So obviously, I'm here from that perspective. But I hadn't really thought too much about sort of moving beyond that. And what that really meant. So you couldn't see the video. You guys didn't see the video?
Well,
Heard it.
But you could only hear it. Okay, well.
we could hear, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I think that was probably the most important aspect of it anyway, was sort of being able to sort of hear what they were saying. Hello, Maria. Thanks for joining us. As I think about being a high impact leader and a global citizen, I want to ask all of you, considering what we just heard, what does that mean? How do you translate that into practical life? It's great, these big concepts and how we're all intertwined, but on a day-to-day basis, what does that mean for all of us? And I want to hear from each of you. So I'm going to start with you on this, Mark, and just give us some context around, you do a lot of work in this area. What does it mean to be a global citizen?
How much time you got? Well, I kind of learned that growing up in Montreal when I was a kid. And, in my interviews a lot, I love asking people who've been influencers in their lives. And the first one that always comes to mind for me among many is my grandfather, who was, he was born in Kiev. He came over to Montreal, and, I would always go for walks for him when I was a little kid, and he'd smile at people. And finally I said, and we used to call him Zeta, was the term we used, and I said, Zeta, how do you know all these people? He said, I actually don't know most of them. But it's funny, when I smile at them, they actually smile back, and then some of them even talk to me, and then we become friends. And it hit me and grew more and more over the years, as you hopefully get wiser, that that kind of is a good definition of what it means to be a global citizen, in the sense of there's no boundaries, there's no anything except embracing and loving the different people that you're meeting, and giving them the opportunity to do the same, because most people really do. Some people put their head down because they're afraid to look at you. Some people, whatever. But most people just smile at them. They'll almost thank you, not necessarily saying it, but they smile back. And so that was kind of the start for me, I think, way back about that it's not so much about you've got to save the world, but you can save the world, quote unquote, just by smiling, and embracing people.
Wow. And it's that simple, right? And beginning with sort of the simplicity of it. And then, of course, you can make it bigger, you can go bigger. But if we all just started very, very simply honoring and understanding what it means to be a global citizen. I always think, okay, so what country are you a citizen of? So we're actually talking about moving beyond the country and the boundaries, and to just all sort of interacting and being in this world in a way we care for each other and interact with each other. So, Marae, for you, you have lived in, different places. And what does it mean for you to be a global citizen?
Yeah, like you said, I've lived in different places, visited different places, and at the end of the day, you just realize that we all human being with our beauty and but also our challenges, our fear. But we all connected, and I think being a global citizen is being able to connect with people, irrespective of who they are, irrespective of what they look like, irrespective of the philosophy of life that they have. Be able to create this synergy and really have a common vision and a common goals, at least for the group, because I look at it more as a group, more as a community, because we obviously have all the different countries, but for me it's really about always looking at the community and being able to connect and to really find the synergy, to be able to go to the same direction, and which is sometimes just simple thing like doing something together. I know that Mark was talking about smiling back at somebody. You can help somebody who is in need, and just have a relationship that is really positive and constructive, and not thinking about any barrier or any separation in a way, as it is presented to us.
Wow. It's so powerful that, again, it's the small things. It's helping someone in need. It's the smiling at someone. It's that connectedness. And also, Roz, it's about understanding that what you do in your life, in your world, impacts everyone else, right? We are all connected. So as much as we are in our own world, we're not in our own world. We're all in this together. So Roz, for you, what does it mean for you to be a global citizen?
I was listening to Mark and Mariah, and as I think of my global citizenship, and I was writing, just jotting down a couple of things. I was thinking about access, impact, and building understanding of world events. And so the impact from what Mark was the smile, and sometimes the little things have a ripple effect. And then the access was, Mariah was talking about not having boundaries, being limitless and what we can do. And then building understanding to world events such as, COVID and some of the other things. But not only does it have a global impact, but it dwindles all the way down to individual people. So that's how I think of our global citizenship, is that the little things that we do can have an international impact, as well as the international impact having individual impact on us personally, but we have to remove the boundaries.
It's so true. And removing the boundaries, I think most of us probably really just don't think often about those individual boundaries, but I want to take it specifically to some of the events happening in the world, like COVID, right? So we've got COVID happening, we've got lots of civil unrest happening. How do we apply the standards of being a global citizen to these big, huge events happening in the world today? If I am a global citizen, and maybe I believe in COVID, maybe I don't know. But how do I take those standards of being a global citizen and apply those to some of these big challenges that we're facing right now as a world? Mark, is there a simple way for us to do that?
A magic wand. So that I once had another influencer who was a Deloitte partner that told me brilliance is simple. And that also, I learned about that more and more as I went on. And it's never simple per se, but the answer generally is simple. Like a complicated process to get there, but it is simple. I'm a partner with Fifth Element Group. We're an impact consultancy. And what we do is we strategize with clients to align them with social and environmental impact. But it's good for business to do that. So it's not just a donation, it's good for business to do that. And as a result, we're able to represent them as what we trademark called leaders who care. And this is the point I'll make on that. And when we can represent them as leaders who care, we're able to help them attract the very best talent, what we call the right fit culture add talent to them. And so the whole mindset, similar to our whole video series that we have called Leaders Who Care, is it's come to the point finally where leaders can realize that it actually is good for business and good for community to care. It's actually good for leaders to be vulnerable. It's actually good and they realized it kind of when they saw that. And to the credit of a lot of the young generation now, every young generation, we all wanted to make a difference. We all want to rebel at one time or another. But I think this one is the one that's really going to take on the leadership mantle because it's urgent and because it's important. And they understand what it is to be global, even more than ever before. But it's about, if you care about your employees and your colleagues for real, like their well-being, if you care about having safe spaces and advancement and giving women opportunity to really flourish in a company, if you really care about those things, you will get the best talent to join you because they ask the questions now. Don't just tell me there's an open door to talk to me. Don't just tell me we care. Show me what you're actually doing locally, regionally, globally, that makes that difference. And then people decide who they want to work with, who they want to buy from as a result. And that's a leader who cares. What's fascinating is leaders are realizing that it's a lot harder to be a jerk. It's a lot harder to pretend you know everything. It's a lot harder to frown than smile. It takes more muscles, literally, and all this stuff. So it's actually easier to be a leader who cares. And then what happens is all the people around you, including going global, want to be with you in that environment. And that's how you can, in short form here, make a difference globally.
That's awesome because it's that human capital, organizations that are really looking to expand, to sort of capture the market, to do all of these things, to have a big impact. It always begins with the people, and oftentimes I think where many organizations go wrong is they sort of look at the people as just a means to get to their bottom line instead of really looking at the people as their bottom line. Right. This is it, and Stephanie said, to me, being a global citizen means making decisions that support my well-being, as well as the being of other humans, the planet, and animals. I recently started a vegan lifestyle because of the impact that eating meat and dairy has on animals, the planet, and my body. And so as we all think about being a global citizen and what that means, we have to think about that individually, that little small simple thing that we can do in order to really have that impact. What about, for you, Murray, in terms of some of these big issues? We've got COVID, we've got sort of, racial and civil unrest, at least here in the States. I don't know if, other countries are dealing with this, at the extent that the United States is dealing with it. How do we apply the mindset of being a global citizen to some of these challenges?
I think, Mark alluded to it, is, really understand how to be compassionate, because as we all mentioned, being a global citizen, we understand that we're all connected, and this connection has to be valued even more when we are challenged, and that's exactly where we are with COVID. Is that something that started in China is now affecting everybody. So we need to continue to come together and communicate, because sometimes communicate and listen, because I think the part of leadership that actually lacking in all of this is some people don't listen, and they just want to act without really listening, understanding exactly, how coming together and trying to come to a common, solution. Everybody wants to have its own solution. Some refuse to actually wear masks, or some want to do something else, and some talk about theory, I don't know, all kind of things. So we need to first sit down, listen, and communicate, and understand that the solution that we're going to have is going to affect everybody. So we need to come together as a for a common solution. And it's the same as well for racism, and I think racism, it's because people, look at things in a separate way. And sometimes it's also because of the way we presented the fact that the freedom, because people have their own notion of freedom. So it's like, okay, I'm free, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to look at the common good. And that's the problem. Where does the freedom stop, for us? And how do we see freedom as a collective group? Because that's really the problem here, and that's what we see with the racism, where a certain community thinks that they should have the power, they should rule over people, and another community thinks that no, I like everything, and nobody actually communicate, and we all kind of look at the limitations instead of looking at it as a way of, okay, we are all in it together. There's obviously a different way of looking at the world or looking at the situation. Let's sit down, let's listen to each other, and let's find a common solution for everybody. So being a global citizen, it's exactly about that. It's just listening to each other, listening to people who have different views, listening to them, and integrate their views in the common good and in a solution that everybody is going to agree on. And that's a key thing to do. And that's difficult. I mean, you have all the domestication as well that we've went through, which is very difficult to overcome, because we've been domesticated from when we were young. So, and then which come this freedom as well that we don't know how to define. And everybody has its own definition, and it creates, all those friction and all those basically rupture that we see in society as far as race is concerned, or even now with the pandemic, the way people respond to that. And and one thing that I can say, for example, if we talk about the pandemic here in Australia, what was really well done is that when the pandemic came, all the political leaders put their political view apart. It was about making sure the population get through it in safely, and not really thinking about politics during that time. And that was a very good thing and a very good outcome, because then we could focus on something and a solution for everybody, and not think about the division and everything that was happening. When you look at all those politicians when they are in their element.
Wow.
So it's all about the communication, and understand that at some point we need, even if we have a divergent point of view, we need to sit down, listen to each other, and try to find a common point to move toward the same direction.
So it's interesting, Murray. One of the key elements that kept coming up there, of course, is communication. And there's that quote that says the greatest, illusion in communication is that it has taken place. People, because they're speaking, that they're communicating. But however, communication needs to be sort of bidirectional, right? Without being able to listen, and without checking in with the receiver of this information, and then sort of circling back, you may not be as effectively communicating as you think that you are. And so as a global citizen, I guess if I were to try to teach global citizenship, it would be about shifting from individualism to sort of the collective, right? Being able to at least shift the lens, at least shift the view a little bit. So, Roz, for you, in terms of, these big issues that we're having, how can we as global citizens begin to impact them, begin to change the fact that we've got COVID, and some people believe in it and some people don't, and we've got racial injustice, and some people believe that that's real and some people don't, and some people don't care, and other people believe we're just fine where we are. Let's just not talk about it and it will all just magically go away. Just don't talk about it. It'll just go away, right? So what do you do with all of that?
First of all, you can't be a fool and think it's gonna go away. I'm coming out the box, I'm coming out the gate before Mark comes. We can't be a fool and figure that, okay, I'm in my box, I'm in my space, and if I only take care of this, nothing else, everything's okay. We have accountability. We have global accountability. Yeah, a long time ago, it was just about our community, but now because of social media and everything that's going on, and the pandemic and the social injustice, that we had the Spanish flu and all this other stuff, that was going on, but now it's we can no longer stay in this box. We can no longer have these blinders on. We have global accountability. Period. Point blank. Yes, we think that we can't make a global impact, but everything that we do has a ripple effect. It impacts 6 other people and 6 other people. So somewhere down the line, you may not see it now, but or in the next 5 minutes, but there is an impact. Someone is going to be changed. So we have to, you know, uh, come outside of this box. We have to take the chains off. We have to be limitless in our thoughts, but we also have to be limitless in our accountability. We also have to listen. Now, I can agree to disagree, but at least respect me enough to listen to what I have to say. It may not be nothing you take and decide I'm going to implement, but respect me enough, and that's in anything, to be able to listen. Um, just like caregiving for us, it used to be okay. It's just these 4 walls, but now with COVID, you know, long distance caregiving was something, but now it's even greater now because people aren't living in communities like they used to. So now long distance caregiving is now global
Right.
because I have military families that I'm getting ready to start taking care of. So it's global. It's no longer business as usual. It's not like that anymore.
Wow. So we're all in it together, right? We're all connected. Mark, you were going to add something?
Well, combination of ask and just comment, because there's great input there. There's a lot going on in the world that is bringing people together. We have to do it more. And so, for example, we think not only, but to a great degree, it's the business leaders who care, if you will, that can make the biggest impact. Not just money wise, but I'll give you an example. There's an organization in the Middle East called EcoPeace Middle East, and it's Jordanians, Palestinians, and Israelis working together for initial common cause of bringing water to their people. And there's a woman that represents the Palestinians. She's the director. Another woman for Jordan, and a man for the Israelis. And touching story, actually. The one for the Palestinians said that her father's a Palestinian politician, and he was getting tons of grief for her working with an Israeli. And now she says, because of all they've done, he's actually proud of her. Now, that's how you can make an impact in the world. Real people. And to what Mirai and Roz both said, it's sometimes it's one person at a time with the ripple effect, but you got to start somewhere. One person can make a difference. And that was a super touching story. And from that, for example, we have a program called Business for Peace, Walk a Mile in Someone Else's Shoes. And what it is, it's a training and engagement continuum where there's tech and data. There's a program. To your point, ladies, about listening, there's clearly a difference between listening and actively listening. And this program called Non-Flict, which is a pretty cool name, isn't it? Non-Flict.
Yeah, Non-Flict.
That coaches people how to actively listen, how to make sure, like Ross said, the other person knew you heard them, and it's less important to them, believe it or not, that you agree. It's more important to them that you heard them, what they wanted to say. And it also includes inclusion, which is for everything from religious inclusion or don't believe inclusion to women and whatnot, all that. So it's a continuum. What's interesting about it is we're taking that training all the way down to employees and the employees' partners and spouses and their kids to interact as well. Because to make it sustainable around locally and in the world, the kids have to be in that mindset of what we're talking about. So there are ways to do it, and if the Palestinians, Israelis, and Jordanians can do it, and UAE and Israel are getting into peace now. A lot of it is economic interdependence, but it's not just about money. It's about, as you all said, globally, regionally, what do we all want and need? And then you find out, damn, it's the same.
It's the same.
Let's do it.
Wow. So there's so much there, but let me first acknowledge Maria. So this is going to cover you guys up just a little bit on the bottom because Maria has a huge, I want to make sure we get it in here. Maria, thank you so much for being thoughtful about this, being in touch with the world and have interest in all of our human roots. that connection among people, countries, and acknowledge there is a global dimension to who we are. Basically, who understands or makes the effort to understand the wider world, not just our corner of it, and be able to work with others to build understanding of these issues. Even when conversations are uncomfortable, we're all connected no matter where we are in the world, and it's our duty to play an actor or a role. I love that, Maria. It's so wonderful. Wendy's out there also. Good morning, Wendy. Thanks for tuning in. As I heard something.
Where's all the guys?
You know what? We usually do have some guys tuning in. I think they're being quiet this morning. You guys out there, Mark feels alone. So, one of the things, though, I think we have to just pause for a minute and elaborate on just a little bit is, we've sort of dived into communication and listening, and then we've moved to active listening. And I think it's just important to state many times when I'm seeing disagreement, when I'm seeing conflict, there's this feeling that listening is agreement, right? That listening, if I listen to you, then somehow, way, shape, or form that means that I agree with you. And so I just can't listen to you because I don't agree with you. But that's not what listening is. No. Listening is just, and not listening so that you can clap back or chime back at them or, then speak your piece, but listening to really hear what the person is saying, listening to pick up on the feeling, the emotion, and then using some empathy and compassion along with that. Even if you don't agree, you can say, gosh, I hear you. And I respect what you're saying. And you are a human being, and so am I. And like Ross said, we can agree to disagree, but it's going to be in respect and in love. And then we can just say, we've got different views, and that's okay, right? It's okay for us to be there. So that listening part of it, I just wanted to bring out because it's so, so critical that we actually be able to have these, as Maria said, these uncomfortable conversations. It is not comfortable to sit in a room with folks as oftentimes the only Black leader and say, this doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good right now. And let me share with you why. Or, for all of us out there and in the world that we're interacting in, I want to just say to everyone out there, if you have, especially in America, if you are in America and you have, because we're going to shift this into the workplace, if you have a person on your team or on your staff or in your organization that is Black or African American or however they identify themselves, have you asked them if they're okay? Because I can tell you right now, most people are not okay. Most Black Americans are not okay. This is an odd place to be. And this is hard. You don't have to have the answers. You don't need to solve it. You didn't cause it and you don't need to be the one to solve it. However, the ability to be empathic, the ability to say, I am here for you. This must be really hard. And if you want to talk, I'm here, right? Just that acknowledgement alone. And then in terms of moving this more into the workplace, let me just quickly pause and just do a quick commercial break. So if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Coffee with Rhonda show. We're having a conversation about being a high impact leader and really moving beyond the four walls of your organization to being a global high impact leader. So don't forget to like the video, share the video if you're watching live. And then also, I want to just let folks out there know that, as we move into our later conversations, I want to bring in how this impacts and can contribute to stress for all of us. So let's talk about the organization. And inside of the organization, now, if I have a global citizen mindset, right? Somehow we've got to define, I know that there's something out there that really walks through what that is and what that means. And Mark, you guys probably have a lot of this with the work that you've done. But if I am that leader who cares, if I have that global citizen mindset, how am I creating an environment for my team where it's lower stress and high productivity, high innovation, high creativity? Because many times I think in the workplace, leaders are so stressed, they can't do their best work. right? They can't be as productive. They can't help you pad your bottom line the way you really want to, because everybody's stressed out trying to dot the I's and cross the T's instead of us creating a more humane environment. And so, Mark, do you see that play out in organizations where it's just high stress, and then they come to terms and they realize that, you know what, we've got to change this in order to get and attract those leaders who care?
Yeah. Can you repeat that? No, just kidding. Certainly we're way better off than we were 10, 20 years ago. It's taken a long time for leaders to recognize that that caring about beyond just the shareholders as stakeholders, everybody's a stakeholder, and being strategically aligned with social and environmental impact is actually good for business, as I said before, and good for attracting and keeping the best talent. The thing that I find is there's a lot of different ways of doing it, and to state the obvious one again is it's about creating relationships within a company. Somebody asked me, this entrepreneur asked me the other day, actually on our broadcast, saying, "Look, I have a business. I've got employees. It's really tough right now. I've got to figure out what to do. I've got to let some people go. How does someone get over the burden of and the responsibility of sleeping at night, knowing that I'm responsible for all their families here?" And we came to the conclusion the best way of doing that, one of the best ways of doing that, aside from certain programs, is creating relationships early within your whole organization. From the CEO down to the person in the warehouse, et cetera, creating those relationships. So then when fast forward, something like COVID happens, it's not all of a sudden you have to fire people. It's actually saying, let me tell you all what's going on in the business right now. Now, if you did that, kind of like an election, you don't wait till a month for the election to love every community, whether it's like whatever. It's actually, it boggles my mind why you got 4 years between every election in the States, but it's only 3 weeks before that everybody really cares, it seems. But get in a relationship. If you got in a relationship with your employees, your management, your people, and you come with them transparently, we're having problems. This is the issue. Guess what happens? They all start coming up with ideas. Like, well, maybe we'll work Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, and you Tuesday, Thursday, and then we'll switch it next week instead of laying off anybody. Maybe we can do this and this to help sales. Maybe, I'm the vice president of supply chain. Maybe I'll go down and help doing something in the warehouse. Maybe whatever. But they'll actually come together. I almost felt like, remember I was talking before, we should play that Beatles song, "Come Together Right Now." But that's part. It's, again, not simplistic, but it's simple, where get in a relationship with the people there. As you said, actively listen to them. Conflict, one of the things this non-conflict program teaches is conflict is actually not a bad thing. It's just different ideas. If we have no conflict, we have no different ideas. So it's a way of approaching that. If you're actively listening, you're right. You don't have to, you can agree to disagree. That's fine. I don't want everybody to agree with me. What am I going to learn? So develop those relationships. And then from that, you get programs, you get participation. Last thing, I compare a lot of things to sports. I did an interview once with an executive of an NHL hockey team, and they said, "Well, what's your goal?" Our goal is always to win the championship. But we're not going to do that every year. It's hard to win the championship, but our mandate every year is to have a winning season. Well, how do you have a winning season? Great players, great talent, great management, great ushers, great secretary and administrative people in the office, great person that cleans the ice, does this and that. It's a whole culture. It's a whole team coming together. There's those words again, and that works. That actually works. And business leaders who care are the ones that I think are going to make it happen, because economic interdependence or getting around the common things that every family in the whole world wants is the way to make that happen.
Wow. So I love that. Stephanie says, creating a productive and caring work environment is an inside job. What I mean by that is that a leader who focuses on healing themselves emotionally puts themselves in the position to be more empathic to their needs, to their team's needs, or empathetic to their team's needs. When a team feels heard and cared for, they will be productive. Wow, what a novel idea, right? Caring for your people. And Maria says growth comes from those uncomfortable conversations. Rhonda, what you said is so true. Sometimes just asking to show empathy, you don't need to have the solution. We don't. And you know what? As an organization, as a team, we can come up with the solutions together. I think it's a lot of.
That's a guy problem. That's a guy problem. That's a guy problem. We've been trained to fix things, basically.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so
and not show emotions as well.
So let's go there, right? So we got the guy problem who, yep, you brought it up, Mark, and so we're going there. So we got the guy problem who guys want to fix everything, but then you have women who want to nurture everyone, right? So you've got this sort of dichotomy here of people who are bringing all of this stuff with them, and they may not be sure how it actually shows up in the workplace and the effect of bringing all of that with them to the workplace. And so as I'm working with organizations to create stress-free cultures and stress-free organizations, the very first thing I hear is that, we can't be stress-free, and that's not realistic. Okay, we don't mean zero stress, because you actually need some stress in order to be motivated and to do something productive. But what we want to do is minimize the bad stress, and you certainly can do that as an organization. And so that's what I mean. Stephanie's laughing at us. She said, women have been trained to fix things too.
Thank God.
When I was young, it's so funny. So quick story, guys.
Fix everything.
Yes, when I was young, I took I was having problems with one of the old TV sets, with the big backs and all that stuff. So I was like, well, I can probably open it up and figure out what's going on. So I opened it up and took it all apart. And I was like, yes, I'm going to fix this TV. And I opened it all up and realized I had no idea what I was looking at in there. I didn't know what looked good, what might be bad, what was wrong, and I had all these parts. And then I was like, I think I just need to buy a new TV. That was my story in trying to fix something I had no clue of how to fix. I figured it out pretty quickly. But as we are working on creating cultures and getting leaders who care, it's so important that you have a team of leaders that trust each other. So I want to talk about that for a moment. And what does that have to do with being a global citizen? And, Maria, I'm going to come to you on this. When we're talking about being a global citizen, there has to be this element of trust, especially inside of the workplace in a leadership team. When we don't trust each other, I don't believe that you're communicating with me fairly and in good faith. I don't believe you have my best interest at heart. I believe you are out to get me, or you're going to sabotage my work, or you're going to take credit for something that I did. I don't want to collaborate with you as a team member on this project, because you always step up and take all the credit. Everybody loves you and nobody ever gives you credit, right? So when there's not trust in organization, it's hard to get a global mindset instilled, and it's hard to be a leader who cares, I think, in that environment. So what say you, Marae?
But I think as a leader, you have to set the tone, because it starts with you. So if you give people a chance to show you that, you can trust them, then, they open up, and if they can trust you as well, if they see how you relate to them, how you respond, and you always, honor your words. So that's actually push them to follow you, because I think that's the key thing, is that, as a leader, you need to inspire people to do what, you want them to do. And you have to be able to do it yourself. And if you can't do it and you expect them to, if nobody can trust you and you expect your team to trust you, it's not going to happen. So you have to create the environment to have this trust happening. And we talked about, I remember once I had a boss. I mean, he was the leader of the team, and what he was doing, instead of imposing to us to those business plan and tasks and things like that, what he would do every year. He would put us into we had a workshop, and we were going to be the one building our own task and target, our own business plan, so that we could own it and really feel like we are in control, and then we could feel that, okay, the leader really trusts us, because if he gives us all this power, then it means that we are valuable. It means that he values us. He value our our knowledge, our experience, and that's the program that is going to go and present to the shareholders, to the MD. So those are things that you can do, and really show that you trust them, you trust everybody, and you respect what they bring into the team. Obviously, there's always there always going to be people that are very difficult to manage, but then sometimes you need to create a different environment. It might not work in the working environment, or because there's too much stress, or you don't have time. You can bring them out to get to communicate with them, to understand exactly who they are, why they behave like that. And I think that's also a strategy that I've used so far with some of the very difficult team members that I had, to create this bond and really bring it, then when it's created, bring it into the back into the working environment. And I think that's something. Mm-hmm.
Can I say one thing on that? Sorry, Roz, just don't jump in, but I'll defer my other time to you back like that, whatever. It's a great point, because number one, if you're a coach of a sports team, there's nothing like for a player to know that the coach is fighting for you and believes in you, and you'll do anything for that coach. What's interesting that's happening now is women ask me this most than anybody when they're looking at a different opportunity. And in our whole executive search practice, we look for talent for our clients, and what they ask is really relevant. Is I know my responsibilities, I know this, but am I going to have the ability to get on a big project and work it and show my stuff? Not just do what the responsibilities are in a job description, but you trust me that you will put me on a big project to show my stuff, not just checking boxes of a job responsibility. And it's really important. And what's happening now too with remote working, you better trust your employees, because they're remote. And if you want them to work and do some great stuff, then you absolutely now have to. There's no other way. You have to trust that my refrigerator calls me every day for 10 times a day when I'm working at home. I got to get some work done. I can't just eat. And but you've got to trust people to perform, and then that gives them the opportunity to perform, and then from there. So great points, Mark.
No, that's awesome. And Roz, we're going to come to you. And so as we're talking about this trust, I want to round up, because we're getting to the end of our time. And what I want to do is I want to close with a conversation that really focuses us on vulnerability. And, as leaders, and as leaders who care, and as those who are really trying to create these stress-free environments and culture so that our leaders can thrive, what does it mean to be vulnerable in this respect, and be able to, I know for me, when I want to be able to say, you know what, I don't have the answer to that, or you know what, that didn't go really well, and here's what I think happened and why. So there's this thing called psychological safety, right? And when you are able to be vulnerable, then you're not so worried that if X happens, I'm going to get fired. Or if I'm seen as the expert and not good enough, then somebody else is going to take my place. And I'm not going to have the respect of the team. So let's talk as we wrap up about how can we use a global mindset, a global citizen mindset? This we talked about empathy, trust, and compassion, and how do we roll all that into showing up in a way that we are authentic and our own vulnerable selves? So, Roz.
Oh, and then I just wanted to go back to us trusting our employees. I tell my employees all the time, just want to tag in on it real quick. I let them know I am not SpongeBob. I do not have eyes in the back of my head, on the side of my head, on the top of my head. You have to be my eyes. I can't. I don't have a magic wand. I don't have a globe. I'm not prophetic. I can't see it. So you have to be my eyes. You have to be that for me. So if something goes wrong, because in caregiving, I have to depend solely on the person that I hire to let me know if there's behavior change. So I have to be vulnerable. I have to trust. And so, showing them that from the beginning lets them know that, like we've talked before, that they are the stakeholders. So, in this business, we have to be transparent. We have to be vulnerable. I have to be able to trust you immediately. I don't have a 30-day grace period to let you learn. And, when you're in the medical field, you have to move quickly. Decisions have to be made. I have to know that you are a thinker and can decide on your own. I don't need my phone going off because you're wasting time. So for me, vulnerability is huge in building the team. Now, sometimes it can backfire, but you can, I think you can regroup on it as well and use it as a teaching mechanism to help, not only to help the employee learn, but also me as the leader. Where was the gap that I made that this could have not happened? Or what is it that you can teach me? Because I tell them, I say, I don't have the answers to it all. I still can learn from you as the employee. Trust me, I can learn something. But also, too, there has to be reciprocity. We still have rules we have to follow. But then also, too, you've got to help me because I can't do it all. My mantra is, if you can't do it all, give us a call. But yeah, that's because they're asking for help. Well, I'm asking for your help.
Right.
So to me, when they see that the leader is open to suggestions and things like this, I think it makes for a better team. Now, everybody's not going to speak up. People are introverts, like, they said, oh, you didn't say anything about me. But also, too, I got to have your help. I got to have your input. If you don't say anything, just like in November, if you don't vote, don't say nothing. So if you don't say nothing to me, don't gripe and bitch about it after the decision has been made.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Awesome. And so I'm going to just share really quickly. Cheryl had said, yes, Mark, it's important to show what you can do in order to build trust with others. Stephanie says, Rhonda and Murray, I agree. Trust is so important. Part of creating trust is a leader's ability to understand that people have different frames of reference and that diversity is valued, Stephanie. For example, a person who was raised in the streets by a prostitute and a pimp will not have the same perspective as a trust fund baby who was raised in the Hamptons. Absolutely. So we're getting some really great comments out there. Stephanie Floods joined us. She said, hi, everyone. Hey, Steph, thanks for joining. And then Cheryl says, so true. It takes a team to keep things together. So that vulnerability, I think, is critical. So let's start our wrap up round. And Roz, is there anything that you want to add? Because we probably won't come back to you before we wrap up. You good? All right. Awesome.
Not unless Mark says something, and I may have to dive in.
All right. So, Murray, so what are your final thoughts? And if you'll end by tying it together with the vulnerability that all of us need to show as leaders, especially if we're going to create thriving and wonderful environments so that our leaders can do their best work so that they can show up and produce for us.
But I think what I wanted to say, about global leadership, it's really about, the mindset. It's a mindset, and we have to look at it as a partnership, because yes, we have some rights, as a leader, and we have things that we have a vision, but at the same time, it has to take into account the different people that we are leading, and it comes with the diversity of of culture, diversity of thing, that we think differently, and all of that has to be part of included into the leadership vision that we want everybody to be part of, and I think that's what global leadership it's all about. It's not just physical, looking at countries or different communities. Yes, that's part of it, but it's more about diversity and include people in everything that we do, and also as a leader understand that the leadership is not about it's not a ranking. It's not a ranking. We here to guide. We are mentor. We are coaches of teams. As a leader, we have the vision, but we create the inspiration as well, and so that people can follow, can emulate, and bring their best. Because I think when you are a good leader, you bring the best out of people, and that's really what you're looking for. Is that irrespective of their background, irrespective of the what they have, you really want them to bring their best into everything that you do together, and understand that it's a partnership, and make them make them understand that they have a responsibility as well, because they, in a way, they are leaders. They might not have the title, but they are leaders, so they have this responsibility as well. And so that everybody so that we can create a win-win situation for everybody, and have an optimal leadership, because it goes both way. And the key thing is really show this vulnerability, inspire, but also make sure you include everybody, and you make sure you include everyone into the process.
And absolutely, and honoring all of those differences. So you guys are rocking with the comments. So Maria said, being vulnerable equals emotional exposure. We need to embrace the leadership model that embraces vulnerability, along with many other principles and practices, including service, humility, awareness, and mindfulness. It's all connected. It is all connected. And I feel like if we can become global citizens, if we develop global citizens mindset, we're just going to be better people, right? We're just going to be people that get it, that connect to each other, that are empathetic, and all of that. So Stephanie said, it takes truth to look within. This is the other Stephanie. Takes truth to look within in order to lead on purpose. Asking where are you mentally and emotionally is key, no matter your station in life. Absolutely. So Mark, wrap this up for us. We've talked about a lot today, and that was the idea. I wanted to touch on different areas. But as you sort of share with us your final thoughts on what it means to be a global citizen and a high impact global leader, then also tell us where they can learn more about the work that you do.
I think it's all about hugging. Actually, that's what I think it's about. I miss the good hugs, and that's both a mental and physiological thing that actually happens there. But there's a lot of stuff about leadership we talked about. At the end of the day, after food and air, the number one thing that fills people's hearts and souls is belonging. And you just want to belong. You just want to be loved, and it's really powerful. And the great thing about global is that you can belong to so many things that are different, and learn so much, and enjoy so much, and get different ideas. It's got to be, to what you all said, a mindset of welcoming all that, rather than saying, well, I don't understand what you're talking about, you're an idiot, or something like that. It's the total opposite. It goes back to the smile. You've got to be open to it, and open is vulnerable, and that leads to a real good hug, usually after the end of the day. So it's not that complicated. It is all mindset, and it's up to each and every person, every day, to wake up and say, hey, what can I do? One good thing one good conversation at least with somebody today, and that'll be a major ripple effect. So so just be one of those leaders who care.
Absolutely. And so, Mark, if they want to learn more about Leaders Who Care or the work that you're doing at the Fifth Element Group, how do they connect with you?
Call Roz. No, they can. I'm happy to talk and engage with people. You can look us up on the Fifth Element Group. It's fithelement.group, and or you can check me out, contact me through Rhonda or on LinkedIn, or send a message out to the universe and it'll get to me, something like that. But yeah, we welcome the participation. The whole point of our whole Leadership Care impetus, if you will, is that it will make an impact, and we'll take it down to the kids of employees, as I said, and let's make a difference out there, globally.
Awesome. So let's see some of our final comments from the audience. Cheryl says, as a leader, motivation, inspiration, and inclusivity is extremely important for success and united minds. Stephanie says, as usual, this conversation was very thought-provoking. Yes, Mark, hugs make everything better. Maria says, a good hug is always welcome. So Cindy's out there. She says, many needs are around the globe. Also, many ways to be a global citizen: monetary, material, personal participation. There's a need for it. Love through prayer is global and universal, and God is love. And I'm just going to say that's my mom. Hey, Mom, thanks for tuning in.
Hello.
So Maria says, I really can't understand the mindset of separation and not giving a S of fellow humans. Yeah, it's just tough. But you know what, Maria, there are many out there. But conversations like this one, I am hoping continue to open up the dialogue, foster that empathy that really helps us all have that positive, sustainable, global impact. We can start just with us. There's a saying that I say quite a bit, which is hashtag it's always you. That means it begins with you. As someone mentioned earlier, look within, be the change that you want to see in the world. Begin shifting the thought and the conversation to how we can versus why we can't. Right? How we can. If we're always coming from that perspective, it's amazing what we can uncover. So I want to thank everyone for being here today. It has been a great conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So Marae and Roz, as always, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Mark, you are just so much fun. It was such a joy to have you on the show. Very much appreciated. So for all of you out there, you guys know that we will be back here next week, same time, same bat station. Until then, remember to stay positive, be empowered, and always express gratitude and appreciation for what you have in your cup. For my panel, stay tuned for just a moment. For everyone else, we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everyone.